Captain Li Huan stood in the Great Hall of Nexus Prime, watching alien delegates discuss humanity's fate like they were talking about the weather. The massive chamber stretched high above him, filled with creatures that looked down on humans, in every way possible. The Velthari representative floated in his water tank, his tentacles moving slowly as he spoke. The ocean world called New Busan must be given to us. Humans do not understand water worlds. They waste resources. They pollute the seas. Li Huan's jaw tightened. New Busan was home to 40 million humans. Children played on those beaches. Families had lived there for 3 generations. But to the Galactic Council, humans were just newcomers who didn't deserve prime real estate. Dr. Park Yuna sat beside him, taking notes on her tablet. She had studied alien cultures for 20 years, always hoping to build bridges between species. Now she watched those same species treat her people like pests to be moved around. The Velthari Consortium has existed for 12,000 years, continued the aquatic alien. We have managed ocean worlds since before your species discovered fire. This is not negotiable. The council chamber buzzed with agreement. The Krillian delegate clicked his mandibles in approval. The crystalline Zephyrians hummed their consent. Even the peaceful Andromedans nodded their large heads. Elder Vorthak, the ancient reptilian who led the council, raised his clawed hand for silence. The matter is clear. Humanity will evacuate New Busan within 1 standard year. This decision is final. Li Huan stood up slowly. Elder Vorthak, may I speak? You may address the council, young human. Young. Li Huan was 53 years old, a veteran of conflicts across the galaxy. But to these aliens, all humans were children. They had been in space for only 200 years. That made them babies in galactic terms. New Busan has 40 million human citizens, Li Huan said calmly. Where do you suggest they go? Elder Vorthak's yellow eyes showed no emotion. That is humanity's problem to solve. Perhaps you should have thought of this before settling worlds beyond your designated sectors. We followed all council regulations when we settled New Busan. Regulations change as the galaxy evolves. The Velthari need that world more than humans do. Dr. Park Yuna leaned forward. Elder Vorthak, surely there must be some compromise. Perhaps shared custody of the world? Humans and Velthari could work together. The Velthari representative's tentacles turned dark blue with anger. We do not share our sacred waters with land crawlers. The humans will leave, or they will be removed. And if we refuse? Li Huan asked quietly. The chamber fell silent. It was a dangerous question. No species had ever directly challenged a council decision. Elder Vorthak's voice dropped to a threatening whisper. Then the Krillian Empire will assist in your relocation. I trust you understand what that means. Li Huan understood perfectly. The Krillians were the council's enforcers. When species didn't follow orders, the insect-like warriors came calling. They had destroyed 3 civilizations in the past century for defying council will. I see, Li Huan said. Thank you for making your position clear. He turned and walked toward the exit. Dr. Park Yuna hurried after him, along with the other human delegates. Behind them, alien voices resumed their discussions, already moving on to other business. In the hallway outside, Dr. Park Yuna grabbed Li Huan's arm. Captain, what are we going to do? Li Huan looked at her with eyes that seemed different somehow, colder, more calculating. We're going to follow orders, Doctor. You mean we're actually going to evacuate New Busan? I mean we're going to do exactly what we've always done. We're going to be good little humans and follow the rules. Something in his tone made her shiver. Li Huan activated his communication device and sent a coded message to Admiral Kim Do-yoon, back on Earth. The message was simple, but Park Yuna didn't understand the Korean phrase he used. What did you tell the Admiral? She asked. Li Huan was quiet for a long moment, then he said, I told him it's time to change the game. Back on Earth, Admiral Kim Do-yoon received the message in his office overlooking the Pacific Ocean. He was an old man now with gray hair and tired eyes. But when he read Li Huan's words, something sparked in those eyes. something that had been sleeping for a very long time. He pressed a button on his desk. "Get me Colonel Jang Hyuk. Tell him phase 1 is authorized." On the other side of the galaxy, Colonel Jang Hyuk was training with his Special Forces team when the message arrived. He read it twice, then smiled. It wasn't a pleasant smile. "Boys," he said to his soldiers, "remember all those weapons tests we've been running? All those new technologies we've been developing? Time to find out if they work as well as we think they do." Meanwhile, on New Busan itself, the evacuation notices were being posted. 40 million humans were being told to pack up their lives and leave the only home many of them had ever known. But in secret facilities across human space, other preparations were beginning. Dr. Song Mi-ran, the weapons specialist, began activating research projects that had been hidden for decades. Captain Yoon Jae-hyun started sending coded messages to human agents scattered throughout alien territories. The galaxy thought it knew humanity. They saw humans as weak, young, and easily pushed around. After all, humans had never fought back before. Every time the Council made demands, humans complied. Every time alien species took human territory, humans found somewhere else to go. What the aliens didn't know was that humans had been watching, learning, studying every alien species, every weakness, every fear. For 150 years, humanity had been the perfect students. Now school was almost over. Engineer Choi Min-ho worked late into the night aboard the human ship Taeguk. Officially, he was preparing the ship for the long journey back to human space. Unofficially, he was installing systems that didn't appear on any blueprint. "These new engines are impressive," he told his assistant. "Much faster than our old ones. I wonder what the aliens would think if they knew how fast we could really travel." His assistant, a young woman named Kim Ji-won, looked confused. "Sir, aren't these just standard diplomatic vessel engines?" Choi Min-ho winked. "That's what the specifications say, but specifications can be misleading." 3 months after the Council's decision, the evacuation of New Busan began. Human ships arrived to carry away families who had lived on the ocean world for generations. Children cried as they left their homes. Parents tried to stay strong for their families. The Velthari watched from their orbital stations, satisfied that the stubborn humans were finally learning their place. Elder Vorthak sent a message to the other council members. The human problem continues to resolve itself. Perhaps they are finally maturing as a species. But in the deep spaces between stars, human ships moved with unusual coordination. Merchant vessels carried more than cargo. Research stations recorded more than scientific data. Mining operations extracted more than minerals. Dr. Park Yuna couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the look in Captain Li Huan's eyes after the council meeting. She had known him for 10 years, and she had never seen that expression before. She found him on the observation deck staring out at the stars. "Captain, I need to ask you something, and I need an honest answer." "What is it, Doctor? Are we really just going to give up? Are we really going to let them push us around forever?" Li Huan was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was very soft. "Doctor, do you know what humans did before we went to space? We lived on Earth. We had wars. We explored our planet. We learned how to survive. We learned how to adapt. We learned how to win when winning seemed impossible." He turned to look at her. "The aliens think they know us. They think we're weak because we choose peace. They think we're helpless because we follow their rules. Aren't we?" Li Huan smiled, and Park Yuna finally understood why his expression had changed. "Doctor, we wanted peace. We tried diplomacy. We followed every rule they made. But they took our peace as weakness. They mistook our patience for fear." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that patience has limits, and today, 40 million of our people learned that their homes don't matter to the galaxy." His smile grew colder. "I wonder what the galaxy will learn when we stop being patient." In the distance, stars twinkled peacefully, unaware that the balance of power was about to shift forever. The breaking point had been reached, and across human space, preparations that had been 50 years in the making were finally beginning to show results. The galaxy was about to discover what humans were really capable of. 3 weeks after the council decision, Colonel Jang Hyuk stood in a hidden facility deep beneath Earth's surface. The place didn't exist on any map. To the outside world, it was just another mountain range in Korea. "Show me what we have," he said to Dr. Song Miran. Dr. Song Miran had been working on secret projects for 30 years. While the galaxy thought humans were primitive, she had been developing weapons that would make alien technology look like toys. "The plasma rifles are ready," she said, pointing to racks of sleek black weapons. "They can cut through Krillian, armor like paper. The energy shields will stop anything the Velthari can throw at us." Colonel Jang Hyuk picked up one of the rifles. It felt light in his hands, but he knew it could destroy a tank. "What about the ships?" "That's the best part." Dr. Song Miran smiled. "We've been hiding warships inside cargo vessels for 20 years. The aliens scan our ships and see only merchant cargo. They have no idea what's really inside." She led him to a massive hangar. What looked like a simple transport ship sat in the center, but when Dr. Song Miran pressed a button, the ship's hull opened like flower petals. Inside was a combat vessel that bristled with weapons. "How many do we have?" 5,000 ships like this one, scattered across the galaxy, hidden in plain sight. Colonel Jang Hyuk nodded. "And the crews?" "Every human merchant, scientist, and diplomat has military training. The aliens never bothered to check our backgrounds. They thought we were too weak to be dangerous." On the other side of Earth, Captain Yoon Jae-hyun was meeting with his intelligence team. They had been watching alien species for decades, learning their secrets. "Tell me about the Velthari," he said. Chief Petty Officer Bae Sunwoo opened a thick file. "They breathe water, but they need a special mixture of gases. Without it, they die in minutes. We know how to make their water unbreathable." "The Krillians?" "Their armor is strong, but it has weak points. Here, here, and here." Bae Sunwoo pointed to a diagram. "One shot in the right place and their whole suit fails. Elder Vorthak's people? Cold-blooded reptiles. Drop the temperature 20 degrees and they can't move. Their ships have the same weakness." Captain Yoon Jae-hyun smiled. While the aliens had been treating humans like children, humans had been studying them like lab specimens. Back on New Busan, the evacuation continued. But Lieutenant Commander Han So-young was doing more than moving people. She was collecting information. Every Velthari ship that came to watch the evacuation was scanned. Every communication was recorded. Every tactical formation was studied. "They have 40 ships in orbit," she reported to Admiral Kim Doyen. "All older models. Their newest vessel is 50 years old. Weapons? Basic plasma cannons. No shields. They rely on their thick hulls for protection. And their tactics? They move in straight lines. No creativity. They've been bullying weaker species for so long, they've forgotten how to really fight." Admiral Kim Doyen filed the report with thousands of others. For 50 years, humans had been gathering intelligence on every alien species. They knew their technologies, their weaknesses, their fears. The aliens thought humans were harmless because humans had never fought back. What they didn't understand was that humans had been waiting for the right moment. On a mining station near Proxima Centauri, Sergeant Major Oh Jinwoo was training his Special Forces team. Officially, they were mining engineers. In reality, they were elite soldiers. "Remember," he told his men, "we're not trying to destroy everything. We want to win quickly and with minimal casualties. The goal is to make them surrender, not to make them extinct." His soldiers nodded. They had been preparing for this day their entire careers. "Sergeant Kim, what's your target?" "The Krillian Command Center on Rigel 7th. 12 guards, standard patrol pattern. I can take it without firing a shot." "Corporal Lee?" "Velthari Communication Hub on Altair 4. Cut their communications, and their whole fleet is blind." "Specialist?" "Park?" "Elder Vorthak's personal yacht. He thinks he's safe because he never leaves council space. He's wrong." Each soldier had a specific target. Each target had been studied for years. When the time came, the alien command structure would collapse in minutes. Dr. Park Yuna was having trouble sleeping again. She kept thinking about the families leaving New Busan. Children who would never see their home again. Parents who had lost everything. She found Captain Li Huan in his quarters reading reports. "Captain, I need to know what's really happening." Li Huan looked up from his tablet. "What do you mean?" "I mean, I'm not stupid. I see how everyone is acting. Something is being planned." Li Huan was quiet for a long moment. Then he set down his tablet. "Doctor, let me ask you something. What do you think humans are best at?" "I don't know. Adapting, learning. We're best at being underestimated. For 150 years, we've been the galaxy's favorite punching bag. Every species looks down on us. Every decision goes against us. So they made a mistake. They confused our patience with weakness. They thought our compliance meant we couldn't fight back." Dr. Park Yuna felt a chill. "Can we fight back?" "Doctor, we never stopped preparing for war. We just got very good at hiding it." He showed her his tablet. The screen displayed a map of the galaxy with thousands of red dots. "What are those?" "Human assets. Ships, bases, agents, weapons, everything we've been building while pretending to be harmless." Park Yuna stared at the map. There were red dots everywhere, in Velthari space, in Krillian territory, even around the Council homeworld. "How long have you been planning this?" "Since the day we joined the Galactic Council. We knew this day would come eventually." Meanwhile, on Nexus Prime, Elder Vorthak was meeting with his advisors. The evacuation of New Busan was going smoothly. Too smoothly. "The humans are being very cooperative," said his intelligence chief. "Perhaps too cooperative." "What do you mean?" "Their ships are moving in coordinated patterns, more than necessary for a simple evacuation." Elder Vorthak waved a clawed hand dismissively. "Humans are obsessed with organization. It means nothing." "Sir, some of our agents have reported unusual activity in human space. New facilities being built, ships being modified." "For what purpose?" "Unknown, but it seems extensive." Elder Vorthak thought for a moment. "Double our patrols around human territory. If they're planning something foolish, we'll stop it before it starts." What Elder Vorthak didn't know was that his own communication systems had been compromised years ago. Captain Yoon Jae-hyun was reading his messages before his own advisors did. "They're getting suspicious," Yoon Jae-hyun reported to Admiral Kim. "Do-yun, how much time do we need?" "Another month to get everyone in position. Then we move faster. Send the acceleration order." Across the galaxy, humans received the message. The timeline was being moved up. Phase 2 would begin in 2 weeks, instead of 4. On New Busan, the last transport ships were loading refugees. But Lieutenant Commander Han So-young wasn't leaving with them. "Ma'am, your evacuation ship is ready," said her aide. "I'm not evacuating," she replied. "But the Velthari will be here tomorrow. This world will be theirs." "No," Han So-young said, quietly. "It won't." She looked up at the Velthari ships in orbit, 40 vessels crewed by aliens who thought they had already won. "Ma'am, send a message to Admiral Kim Do-yun. Tell him New Busan is ready." "Ready for what?" Han So-young smiled. It was the same cold smile that Captain Li Huan had shown Dr. Park. "Yuna. Ready to show these aliens what happens when you push humans too far." In the deep ocean trenches of New Busan, systems that had been hidden for decades were coming online. The Velthari thought they were inheriting a peaceful water world. They were about to learn that humans had been very busy under those peaceful waves. The quiet preparation phase was almost over. Soon, the galaxy would discover what 150 years of human patience had really been building toward. And the aliens who had pushed humanity to this point were about to learn a very painful lesson about the difference between choosing peace and being incapable of war. The Velthari fleet commander, Aqualord Tethmore, floated in his command tank watching New Busan's surface. The last human evacuation ships had left 3 days ago. The ocean world was finally theirs. "Begin the descent," he ordered. "I want our colonization fleets in the water by sunset." His aide, a younger Velthari named Kepharon, checked the sensor readings. "Sir, I'm detecting some unusual energy signatures from the deep ocean trenches." Probably leftover human technology. They always leave their garbage behind. Should we investigate? Later. First, we celebrate our victory. What Tethmore didn't know was that Lieutenant Commander Han So-young was still on New Busan. She sat in an underwater facility 2 miles beneath the ocean floor, watching the Velthari ships through hidden cameras. "They're coming down," she reported to her team, just like we predicted. Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Park Ji-ho, looked nervous. "Ma'am, there are 40 ships up there. We have maybe 20 people down here." 20 people and 30 years of preparation, Han So-young reminded him. "That's all we need." She pressed a series of buttons on her control panel. Around New Busan's oceans, systems that had been sleeping for decades began to wake up. 3 hours later, the first Velthari colonization ship entered New Busan's atmosphere. Captain Vortez was excited to finally claim this rich water world for his people. "Beautiful oceans," he said to his crew, "rich in minerals and sea life. The humans never deserved such a paradise." His ship splashed down gently in the northern sea. The water felt perfect, the right temperature, the right chemical balance. Captain Vortez opened his ship's doors and swam out into the ocean. That was when the first surprise hit him. The water around his ship suddenly began to glow with a strange blue light. His instruments started screaming warnings. "Captain!" His communications officer called. "Something is wrong with the water. The chemical balance is changing." Within minutes, the water became toxic to Velthari biology. Captain Vortez and his crew barely made it back to their ship before the modified seawater would have killed them. "How is this possible?" Vortez gasped, his gills burning from the poisoned water. His answer came from every ocean on the planet. The water was changing everywhere at once. Humans had hidden chemical processors in the deepest trenches, and now they were turning New Busan's oceans into a death trap for the Velthari. Aqua Lord Tethmore watched in horror from orbit as his colonization fleet fled the poison seas. "Contact the human evacuation fleet," he ordered. "Demand an explanation." But when his communications officer tried to reach the human ships, he discovered something that chilled Tethmore to his core. "Sir, the human evacuation ships? They're not evacuation ships." "What do you mean?" "I mean they just dropped their disguises. Those aren't civilian vessels, they're warships." On the bridge of what had appeared to be a refugee transport, Lieutenant Commander Han So-young smiled as her ship's true form was revealed. The fake hull plates fell away, showing advanced weapons and armor that the galaxy had never seen before. "This is Lieutenant Commander Han So-young of the Human Defense Force," she broadcast to the Velthari fleet. "You are trespassing in human territory. You have 10 minutes to leave our system." Aqualord Tethmore's tentacles turned dark purple with rage. "Human territory? This world was given to us by the Galactic Council." "The Galactic Council doesn't speak for humanity anymore," Han So-young replied calmly. "We speak for ourselves. Now, you dare threaten us? We have 40 ships, and we have 30 years of preparation. Choose wisely, Aqualord." Tethmore was furious, but he wasn't stupid. The human ship looked more advanced than anything in his fleet. And if they could poison entire oceans in minutes, what other surprises did they have? "All ships prepare for combat," he ordered. "Sir," his tactical officer said nervously, "I'm detecting more human ships. They're decloaking all around us." Tethmore looked at his display screen and felt his blood turn cold. 50 human ships had appeared from nowhere, surrounding his fleet. Completely. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was that his sensors couldn't identify any of the human technology. Their ships used energy signatures he'd never seen. Their weapons operated on principles his scientists didn't understand. "Fire warning shots," Tethmore ordered, trying to sound brave. His ships launched their best plasma weapons at the nearest human vessel. The plasma bolts struck the ship's shields and simply disappeared like raindrops hitting a mountain. Then the human ship fired back. A single beam of blue energy struck one of Tethmore's destroyers. The massive warship didn't explode. It didn't burn. It simply stopped existing. One moment it was there, the next moment there was empty space. What kind of weapon was that? Tethmore whispered. His question was answered by a transmission from Admiral Kim Doyen, broadcast from Earth to every corner of the galaxy. People of the galaxy, Admiral Kim Doyen said, his voice carrying to billions of alien listeners. For 150 years, humanity has lived by your rules. We have accepted your restrictions. We have endured your contempt. On Nexus Prime, Elder Vorthak watched the transmission with growing alarm. We tried to be good neighbors. Admiral Kim Doyen continued. We tried to earn your respect through peaceful means, but you mistook our patience for weakness. You confused our desire for peace with an inability to wage war. Cut the transmission, Elder Vorthak ordered. We can't, sir. They're broadcasting on frequencies we can't block. Today, you learn the truth about humanity. We are not weak. We are not helpless. We have simply been choosing not to show you what we are truly capable of. Across the galaxy, alien species watched in shock as Admiral Kim Doyen revealed humanity's true nature. For 50 years, we have been preparing for this day. Every human merchant ship carried military scanners. Every human diplomat was a trained intelligence officer. Every human scientist was developing weapons that would make your technology look primitive. On various alien worlds, humans began revealing themselves. Ambassador Quan Taman, who had seemed like a peaceful diplomat for 20 years, opened his embassy's hidden weapons vault. Captain Shin Miyun launched her fighter squadron from what everyone thought was a cargo freighter. Master Chief Kang Dae-hyun led his boarding teams onto Krillian stations that had been thought secure. The insect warriors discovered that humans could fight in ways they had never imagined. We didn't want this war, Admiral Kim Doyen continued. But you forced our hand when you decided to steal our homes and scatter our families. You thought 40 million humans on New Busan didn't matter. You were wrong. Back at New Busan, Aqualord Tethmore was trying to save what remained of his fleet. Half his ships had already surrendered rather than face the terrifying human weapons. Please, he transmitted to Lieutenant Commander Han Soyoung. We surrender. We didn't know. What didn't you know? She asked. We didn't know humans could fight like this. We thought you were weak. You thought wrong. We're not weak. We're careful. There's a difference. Admiral Kim Doyen's broadcast reached its conclusion. From this day forward, humanity will no longer accept second-class status in this galaxy. We will no longer allow elder species to dictate our future. We will no longer pretend to be less than we are. The age of alien dominance is over. The age of equality begins now. And to those who still think humans are weak, I invite you to ask the Velthari fleet at New Busan how weak we really are. Elder Vorthak turned off the transmission and looked at his advisors. For the first time in his long life, the ancient reptile felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. How many human ships do we estimate are out there? He asked. Unknown, sir. Our intelligence on human military capabilities was incomplete. How incomplete? Sir, we may have been completely wrong about everything. On Earth, Dr. Song Miran was monitoring the battle reports coming in from across the galaxy. Human forces were revealing themselves everywhere, and the results were beyond her best predictions. Status report, Colonel Jang Hyok asked. Velthari, fleet at New Busan has surrendered. Krillian strongholds on 7 worlds have been captured without casualties. Elder Vorthak's personal guard has requested terms for peaceful surrender. Casualties on our side? None, sir. Not a single human has been killed. Colonel Jang Hyok nodded with satisfaction. This was exactly what they had planned. Not a war of destruction, but a war of revelation. Show the galaxy what humans could do, but do it so precisely that aliens would choose surrender over suicide. What's the galaxy's reaction? Shock, sir. Most species are asking for immediate peace negotiations. They want to know what humanity's terms will be. Colonel Jang Hyuk smiled. Tell them our terms are simple: respect. Dr. Park Yuna found Captain Li Huan on the observation deck again, watching the stars. But this time, he looked different. The cold calculation was gone, replaced by quiet satisfaction. It's over? She asked. The revelation phase is over. Now comes the hard part, which is building a galaxy where this never has to happen again. Park Yuna looked out at the stars, knowing that somewhere among them, alien species were discovering that the universe had changed forever. The day humans finally snapped wasn't the day they lost their temper. It was the day they stopped pretending to be something they weren't. And no species in the galaxy would ever make that mistake again. Fleet Admiral Nam Curie stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Soul's Vengeance, watching tactical displays that showed the entire galaxy. Red dots marked human forces. Blue dots showed alien military positions. In just 72 hours, the Yao balance of power had shifted completely. "Status report," she ordered. Captain Shin Mion, who had just returned from leading a fighter squadron against Krillian forces, saluted. "The Krillian Empire has surrendered, Admiral. Their entire military command structure collapsed when we took their central command on Rigel 7th. Casualties? 3 Krillian injuries, all minor. No human losses." Admiral Nam Curie nodded. This was going exactly as planned. Show overwhelming force, but use it precisely. Make surrender more attractive than fighting. What about the other species? Master Chief Kang Daehyun stepped forward. The Zephyrians surrendered after we demonstrated we could shut down their crystal-based technology. The Andromedans are asking for peace talks. Even Elder Vorthak has requested a meeting. Dr. Lim Wonshik, the psychological warfare specialist, was studying his reports. "Admiral, the alien populations are more afraid of us than their own governments are. They're calling us the Silent Death because we can appear anywhere without warning. Good. Fear will keep them from trying anything stupid while we build a better system." On the other side of the galaxy, Elder Vorthak was learning just how completely humans had infiltrated Council space. His own personal yacht had been boarded by humans who appeared out of nowhere. The boarding team was led by Master Chief Kang Daehyun, who had studied the yacht's layout for 5 years. He and his men had taken control of the ship in under 3 minutes. "Elder Vorthak," Kang Daehyun said politely. "Fleet Admiral Nam Curie would like to speak with you." Elder Vorthak's yellow eyes showed terror. "How did you get aboard my ship? This is the most secure vessel in Council space." "With respect, sir, there is no such thing as secure space anymore. Not from humans." The truth was worse than Elder Vorthak imagined. Humans had been on his ship for 2 years disguised as maintenance workers. They knew every system, every weakness, every secret. "What do you want?" Elder Vorthak asked. "We want to talk. Nothing more. But Admiral Nam Curie thought you might listen better if you understood how easily we could have killed you at any time during the past decade." Elder Vorthak felt his cold blood grow even colder. "Decade? We've been watching you for a very long time, sir." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, other alien leaders were learning the same lesson. The Velthari Consortium discovered that humans had been living in their underwater cities for years. The Krillian Empire found human agents in their most secret military bases. Captain Yoon Jae-hyun was coordinating the intelligence operations from a hidden base that didn't officially exist. "How many of their secrets do we have?" Admiral Kim Doyen asked via secure transmission. "All of them, sir. Battle plans, government communications, personal files on every major leader. We know what they're going to do before they decide to do it." "And they never suspected?" "They thought we were too primitive to run effective intelligence operations. They were checking for alien spies, not human ones." The most shocking revelation came when Captain Shin Mion's fighter squadron demonstrated human flight technology. Her ships moved faster than anything the galaxy had ever seen, turning and spinning in ways that should have been impossible. "How are they doing that?" a Krillian pilot asked over the radio before his squadron surrendered. "Physics," Shin Mion replied simply. What the aliens didn't understand was that humans had been developing artificial gravity technology for decades. While alien ships were limited by the need to protect their crews from acceleration forces, human ships could change direction instantly. Dr. Song Moran had spent 30 years perfecting the technology. Now her creations were making the galaxy's best pilots look like children flying toys. But the most terrifying demonstration came from Dr. Lim Wonshik's Psychological Warfare Division. They didn't attack alien minds directly. Instead, they showed each species exactly how much humans knew about their deepest fears. The Velthari received messages containing their most secret religious prophecies. The Krillians found their private, military codes broadcast on public channels. The Zephyrians discovered that humans could interfere with their crystal-based communication networks. How do they know all this? Elder Vorthak demanded of his advisors. We don't know, sir. It's like they've been studying us our entire lives. Have they? His intelligence chief looked uncomfortable. Sir, we're beginning to think they might have been. The revelation that broke Elder Vorthak's spirit completely came when Fleet Admiral Nam Curie showed him what humans had been building in secret. Hidden in unexplored sectors of space, humans had constructed entire star systems, artificial worlds, space stations larger than planets, industrial complexes that could build fleets in weeks instead of years. While you were debating whether humans deserved this planet or that moon, Admiral Nam Curie explained, we were building our own planets. Elder Vorthak stared at the holographic displays showing dozens of human-built worlds. This is impossible. The energy requirements alone are well within human capabilities. We've been harnessing stellar energy for 40 years. We just never mentioned it in our technology reports to the Council. Why? Because you would have tried to regulate it, tax it, or take it away from us, like you did with everything else. The final blow came when humans revealed their ultimate capability. In a demonstration that shocked the entire galaxy, they showed they could move stars. Dr. Song Miran had developed gravitational manipulation technology that could shift entire solar systems. It was the ultimate defense. If someone threatened human worlds, humans could simply move those worlds somewhere else. This changes everything, Elder Vorthak whispered. Yes, Admiral Nam Curie agreed. It does. Within 72 hours, every major alien government had requested peace negotiations. The war that had started with humanity's demand for respect had ended with humanity's complete dominance of galactic technology. But Admiral Nam Curie didn't want dominance. She wanted equality. We're not here to rule you, she told the emergency council session. We're here to make sure no one rules anyone else without their consent. The old council chamber had been replaced with a new meeting hall where no species sat higher than any other. Elder Vorthak found himself sitting at the same level as human representatives. What are your terms? He asked. Simple, Admiral Nam Curie replied. No more forced relocations. No more second-class citizenship. No more decisions about our people made without our input. And if we refuse? Admiral Nam Curie gestured to the display screen showing human fleets positioned throughout the galaxy. Then you'll discover that the last 72 hours were just a demonstration. We can do much worse if we have to. The threat wasn't empty. In those 3 days, humans had shown they could appear anywhere, defeat any force, and overcome any defense. They had done it all without killing a single alien. That restraint was more frightening than any weapon. The humans could have destroyed us all, the Velthari leader whispered to his aide. Instead, they chose to embarrass us. What kind of species shows mercy while demonstrating ultimate power? A species we should never have underestimated, the aide replied. Captain Li Huan, now promoted to admiral, stood with Dr. Park Yuna on the observation deck of their ship. The stars looked the same, but everything else had changed. Do you think it will work? Dr. Park Yuna asked. This new system? It has to, Admiral Li Huan replied. Because if it doesn't, next time we might not be so gentle. Dr. Park Yuna understood. The galaxy had seen human mercy, but they had also seen human capability. The combination was more effective than pure force could ever be. The 72-hour revolution was over. Humanity had gone from the galaxy's weakest species to its strongest in 3 days. But more importantly, they had used that strength to build something better instead of just tearing down what came before. The age of alien dominance was truly over, and the galaxy would never forget the day humans finally stopped pretending to be weak. 6 months after the 72-hour revolution, President Ryu Seungjae stood before the new Galactic Assembly on New Geneva, humanity's capital world. The assembly hall was different from the old council chamber. Every species sat at the same level. No one looked down on anyone else. Today marks the beginning of a new age, President Ryu Sungjae said to representatives from across the galaxy. An age where species are judged by their actions, not their age. Where strength comes from, cooperation, not domination. In the audience, Elder Vorthak sat next to Admiral Li Huan. The old reptile looked smaller somehow, but not defeated. Just humbled. The meritocratic alliance will operate on simple principles. President Ryu Sungjae continued. Species advance through contribution. Leaders are chosen by capability. No one rules another without consent. Dr. An Jisoo, the architect of the new system, presented the framework. It was elegant in its simplicity. Instead of age-based hierarchy, species earned status through scientific advancement, cultural contribution, and ethical behavior. But what about our traditional ways? Asked a Velthari representative. Minister Park Kyungmin, head of interspecies relations, stood to answer. Your traditions are respected within your own territories, but they cannot be imposed on others. The old system had collapsed not through force but through example. When humans showed that cooperation worked better than domination, other species began to follow their lead. Grand Admiral Lee Chae-young commanded the new Galactic Defense Force from her flagship Harmony. The fleet was integrated, with crews from dozens of species working together. Status report, she requested. Captain Choi Min-ho, her operations officer, consulted his displays. The former Krillian territories are adapting well to the new system. Their military leaders are actually relieved not to have to enforce the old council's harsh rules anymore. What about the Velthari? They're working with human engineers to develop sustainable ocean management. Turns out they were being forced to overharvest by council quotas. Without those pressures, they're much more reasonable. The transformation had been remarkable. Species that had been enemies for millennia were now working together. The threat of human intervention wasn't what kept the peace. It was the realization that peace was more profitable than war. On New Busan, the world that had started it all, something unprecedented was happening. Humans and Velthari were building the first integrated colony in galactic history. Lieutenant Commander Han So-young, now governor of New Busan, stood on a beach watching human children play in the waves, alongside young Velthari. It's working, she said to her aide, Lieutenant Park Ji-ho. Yes, ma'am. The joint environmental project is ahead of schedule. The Velthari are amazed at how much they can accomplish when they're not competing with other species for resources. The Busan Accords had become a model for the galaxy. Instead of one species displacing another, they found ways to share worlds that benefited everyone. Dr. Song Miran was working on her most ambitious project yet, teaching alien species human technology. Not weapons, but tools for building and, creating. The gravitational manipulators are ready for mass production, she told Admiral Kim Doyen. We can teach every species how to build their own worlds instead of fighting over existing ones. Security concerns? Minimal. The technology requires cooperation between multiple species to operate safely. No one can use it for war without help from their neighbors. It was a brilliant solution. By making the most powerful technology dependent on cooperation, humans had made war less attractive than peace. Captain Yoon Jae-hyun had transitioned from intelligence work to diplomatic service. His job now was helping species understand each other instead of spying on them. The psychological profiles we developed during the war are proving useful for peace, he reported to Minister Park Kyung-min. When you understand what motivates a species, you can find ways to work with them instead of against them. Any problems? Some species are still afraid of us. They remember how easily we could have destroyed them. And we're showing them that we choose to build instead of destroy. Every day that fear becomes respect. The most surprising development was with the Krillian Empire. The warrior species had expected to be punished for their role as the Council's enforcers. Instead, humans offered them a new purpose. Colonel Jang Hyok was training former Krillian warriors as peacekeepers for the new galactic order. Your strength isn't a problem, he told a group of Krillian soldiers. It's an asset. But strength without wisdom is just destruction. We're teaching you to use your power to protect instead of conquer. The Krillians took to their new role with enthusiasm. After centuries of being feared, they discovered they preferred being respected. Master Chief Kang Daehyun had perhaps the strangest job of all. He was bodyguard to Elder Vorthak, protecting the former council leader from species that wanted revenge. "Why do you protect me?" Elder Vorthak asked during one of their conversations. "I was your enemy." "You were never our enemy," Kang Daehyun replied. "You were just wrong. There's a difference. I made your people suffer, and now you're helping to make sure it never happens again. That's more valuable than revenge." Elder Vorthak had become an unexpected ally. His knowledge of the old system's failures helped humans build something better. Dr. Park Yuna had found her calling as head of the new Cultural Exchange Institute. Her job was helping species understand each other through shared experiences instead of mutual suspicion. "The art exhibition is ready," she told Admiral Li Huan during one of their regular meetings. "What's the theme?" "What we share. Artwork from every species showing common experiences: birth, growth, love, hope. It turns out we're more alike than different." Admiral Li Huan smiled. "That's what we always believed. It just took a while to prove it." The success of the new system attracted attention from beyond the galaxy. Ships from distant star clusters began arriving, asking to join the meritocratic alliance. "We're receiving another request," Captain Shin Mian reported to President Ryu Sungjae. "The Andromeda Collective wants to establish formal relations." "What's their situation?" "They're fighting a war against an oppressive empire. They've heard about our revolution and want our help." President Ryu Sungjae considered the request carefully. The new human policy was clear: help those who couldn't help themselves, but only if they were willing to embrace the principles of equality and cooperation. "Send a diplomatic mission," he decided. "But make it clear, we don't conquer, we liberate. And liberation means they have to be willing to change too." Fleet Admiral Nam Kyuri prepared her ships for humanity's first intervention beyond their home galaxy. It would be a test of whether the human model could work on an even larger scale. "Remember," she told her fleet commanders, "we're not going as conquerors. We're going as teachers. Show them there's a better way, then help them build it." On Earth, in the mountains of Korea where it all began, Admiral Kim Doyon was writing his memoirs. The old soldier wanted future generations to understand what had really happened during the 72-hour revolution. "It wasn't anger that drove us," he wrote. "It was hope. Hope that the galaxy could be better than it was. Hope that strength could be used to protect instead of oppress. Hope that different species could work together instead of fighting over scraps. We didn't snap because we lost our temper. We evolved because we refused to accept injustice as inevitable." Dr. Lim Wonshik was analyzing the psychological impact of the revolution on both human and alien populations. "Humans have become more confident," he reported, "but also more responsible. They understand that great power requires great wisdom. And the aliens, they're discovering abilities they never knew they had. When you're not constantly fighting for survival, you can focus on growth and creativity." The transformation was visible everywhere. Velthari art had become more innovative. Krillian engineering had become more sophisticated. Even Elder Vorthak's people were developing new technologies. "It's like the entire galaxy woke up," Dr. Lim Wonshik concluded. The final test of the new system came when a group of radical aliens attempted to restore the old council through violence. They attacked a human research station, expecting it to trigger a human military response that would destabilize the alliance. Instead, it was Velthari and Krillian forces that responded first, protecting human civilians while human ships provided support. "This is what we built," Admiral Li Huan told Dr. Park Yuna as they watched the integrated rescue operation. "Not human dominance, but genuine cooperation. Do you think it will last?" "As long as we remember that strength without compassion is just tyranny with better weapons." The rescue was successful. The radicals were captured by their own species and handed over for justice. The galaxy had chosen the new way over the old. Years later, historians would mark the day humans finally snapped as the turning point in galactic civilization. Not because humans became conquerors, but because they proved that the strongest species could choose to lift others up instead of keeping them down. The galaxy had learned that patience wasn't weakness, cooperation wasn't naive idealism, and, sometimes, the most revolutionary act was refusing to become the monster your enemies expected you to be.